Are you a truth seeker? What is truth, and why is it so important? Is it a universal concept, or do people simply define their own truth? Aren't most people truth seekers? No one would intentionally live a life of lies, would they? Truth is defined as the body of real things, events, and facts. It can also be defined as a transcendent, fundamental, or spiritual reality. Some truths are very simple and straightforward. Others are not. For example, isn't it true that 10 plus 10 equals 20? And isn't it true that babies are born from a mother's womb? And isn't it true that George Washington was our first official U.S. president? Those truths are pretty much universally accepted and hard to argue. One is mathematical, one is scientific, and one is historical in these examples. Other truths aren't so straightforward, and there isn't a universal consensus. For example, some of the most difficult yet important truths to determine are: what is the truth behind the meaning of life? Why do we exist? And where do we come from, apart from what we know in science? You could ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers, but isn't it possible that 1 out of 10 is correct and the others are not? Doesn't there have to be an ultimate truth to these questions? Even if the truth is, we exist by random chance? But what if it was possible to derive the truth from these questions, and what if there was enough evidence that leads to a logical conclusion, resulting in a greater sense of purpose, joy, and fulfillment in life? Wouldn't you want to know and experience that truth? The sad reality for these paramount questions is that most people are trapped in a state of what I call convenience truth, which is more or less their default position based on a combination of their life experiences, their upbringing, their social interactions, their education, and what seems convenient and familiar to them. They often fall into one of several buckets. The first is those who adopt what they were raised with just for the purpose of tradition and familiarity, because they don't know what else to do, and it's just easier this way. The second is what some refer to as apatheism, meaning they decide that they're not going to waste any time pursuing the truth because they're too busy and uninterested. The third bucket is those who determine that since other intelligent, successful people around them haven't found the truth, it must be very difficult or impossible to determine, and so it's not worth pursuing and better to just trust that it'll all work out in the end. And the last bucket, which is very popular, is those that begin to live a life defining their own truth as taught in our culture, which can be referred to as subjective truth. A popular message we might hear today in the mainstream is, if it's true for you, you need to follow your heart and stay true to yourself. Sounds like a normal yet potentially dangerous path, right? Because isn't truth just truth? Truth isn't subjective. Truth is objective. Even if we don't like the truth, it is what it is. But maybe that doesn't fit the narrative for most people, and the convenience truth is all they're really looking for because that's what fits their personal agenda. I've been guilty of this in my life. Well, if you're looking for the convenience truth, you've come to the wrong place, even though I'd like to think we've made the truth pretty convenient here. I'd like to think that after studying life's most complex questions for years, we've compiled enough evidence that points to logical conclusions and simplified it. We're confident we've identified the ultimate truth. However, some of the answers to our questions weren't always what we're looking for. In order to be a truth seeker, you have to be okay with not getting the answer you're looking for sometimes, and you have to live with that. Being a truth seeker forces us to leave our comfort zone. It's often the opposite of the status quo. But if you're a truth seeker, you're willing to put in the effort to find the ultimate truth, and you're ready to explore the answers to life's most complex questions, you're in the right place. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And where am I going? Is there a God? If there is a God, do we know his identity? Can modern science and God coexist, or has science disproved God? What could be more important than the truth behind these types of questions? I hope you find our video content helpful,